Hello and welcome to today's content, which will be on Salire's Sweetheart and doing an analysis on her and what she can do and what she can't do, and I'll be giving her a rating out of 5, and hopefully that helps you if you want to pull her or not. Without further ado, let's go. For the main job Energist, which is the same as Garvel's, she's going to start off with Chi Shot as a base unit. However, her EX upgrade turns into Chi Super Shot, which is a magic attack stat missile type attack ability. And once the EX upgrade happens, it's a 165% damage modifier. This is actually pretty strong for what it can do. For Pulse, I would say this is more better as a live PvP ability, which moves you up to 4 panels away, and it has a debuff resistance of 30. 30% is not really enough in my opinion. However, if you do want to use it for it, be my guest. From here, Twin Chi Rupture is going to be a 245% attack ability, which is very strong. It is only AoE of 2 tiles away, unfortunately, and costs 48 AP, which is very expensive. However, the EX upgrade version of this is going to turn it into Twin Chi Rupture Plus, where it's the same damage modifier. However, she gains 1 more tile of AoE, like forward out, which is actually pretty nice considering that most units in general will be around that distance away from each other, sometimes even just grouped up, but having that extra tile is always helpful for the AI to set up. Also, the AP cost is lowered by 8, so now it's 40 AP cost, so this is considerably a good upgrade in my opinion. From here we have Chi Barrier, just like what Garvel has, very nice to have. Physical Barrier, very effective. And one of the most notorious and best abilities in my opinion is Detonation Blasts. Not only does it hit pretty decently hard, it's a 100% hit ability and very far range. This is excellent for dealing with evasion units in general. It is very good. From her Limit Break, we're going to have Bombardment of Love, where it not only dispels all targets for the buff, and it dispels haste specifically. It does a good amount of damage, and not only is it 5 tiles of range and height range of 2, it also increases her CT for herself by like a good amount. This is very helpful considering when it just helps in general to get a turn again after using it very quickly. For her EX ability, specifically is going to be Cross Discharge when her job level is 25. It's not only going to increase her magic attack stat by 30% for 3 turns for herself, then it will hit the enemy for 165%, and it's a pretty good ability for not only buffing herself but also dealing a lot more damage. Keep in mind for her Limit Break Bombardment of Love to dispel all buffs and the haste, I do have a video on it. I will put in the suggested link up here. And it is actually pretty important because it's important to know what exactly is a debuff and a status element, etc. It will not take out status elements except for haste specifically. Anyways, moving on. Here we are for the recommended sub-jobs. Unfortunately, there's a lot here and there's also not a lot here at the same time, and I'll explain why. First off, we have the Energist sub-job, which is going to have Chi Shot Flurry, which is 139% damage and it 2 hits. It is good here as a chain for missile damage or ice element. It depends on that. It will not do much damage otherwise. Rejuvenation is very niche, and I would say arguably it's almost only going to be used in live PvP mostly, but if you want to use it, it's there and available. The Black Mage sub-job specifically, as you can see from the list, does have a variety of spells. However, keep in mind this does not have specifically Flare, which is one of the most important abilities for a Black Mage in general. The next important ability will be Drain, which she does have, and it's actually very nice to have because Drain can be used very well if the enemy cannot down you in 1 hit, and you can get Drain off to heal almost all the way back up. Depends on the situation, but like for an example, if like Black Robed Helena hit like a Yuna for 6k and just healed that 6k back up with Drain, she definitely is going to be full HP. Like circumstances like that. Keep in mind, however, both the Black Mage and Time Mage subjob have cast time. All of them have cast time, so just be wary of that. Time Mage specifically for auto and live PvP, if you're going to use it, or just in general, haste will be your #1 thing, and this will keep Salire back and just keep using haste on her teammates to help them like speed up, and she could definitely take on a support role just like that with only haste. In live PvP, because she does not have Quicken, unfortunately, it's a little disappointing. However, she does have Transposition, which is extremely effective in live PvP if you know how to use it well. So keep that in mind. And as I said earlier, there's a big cast time icon right there. They all have cast time for these 2 sub-jobs. For her resistances and passives, we have 0% for slash, 10% for pierce, -10 for strike, 0% to missile, 10% to magic. From here, as you can see, she has no strong strengths in resistances, but she also has no big weaknesses. Keep that in mind because she does have chi barrier. She has 0% to AoE, 0% to single target. At level 120 master ability included, she has 10 defense and 0 base spirit. This is pretty good for the defense portion, especially because it can be used in like together with the chi barrier for physical damage matchups. For resistances to statuses, she has 50% to berserk, 50% to sleep, 10% to confusion. Keep in mind this means she is not immune to stop, slow, disable, and silence, but I'll get to that in a few moments. For her master ability, she's going to have the mono ice, the usual, 10% for all ice allies for HP, and 15 ice attack for all ice allies and herself. For the spirit penetration, she gets 25% for herself. I'm a little disappointed we didn't get like a global buff or anything. However, I do believe she might be too strong if that happened. I think she's pretty balanced as of right now, but it definitely would have been nice if she got a little bit more spirit penetration. For her to passives, what I recommend in almost all situations, like 99% of situations, hyper vitality. Not only does it help boost her agility, magic, and dex, she really needs that agility boost, and the magic buff definitely helps her significantly. What I said about statuses earlier, that she is not immune to stop and slow, luckily, because she has a time-based sub-job, she has a null CT passive, which when you use this, it is a double-edged sword because you cannot put haste or quicken on yourself. It just won't work. If you put this on, you cannot be slow and stopped, which can like completely makes those statuses like immune, which is null. Like this is very nice to have if you're doing mostly like live PvP or do not want to be like cheesed by like crowd control from like I guess Agrius or something. But yeah, null CT changes is definitely a niche. I should put it in niche and flex passes, but I do believe it's also very, very useful. This also helps it so that Salire doesn't really use haste on herself. She'll use it on her teammates instead if she has the chance. From here, we have both Chi Flow expansion and Magic up level 1, which is good for just adding a little bit more magic stat. Is definitely helpful, and it does work well with Hyper Vitality if you want that more damage. For her niche and flex, because 99% of her abilities on her main job, I actually believe it's all of them, she doesn't need speed cast because they're all instant cast, which is important to have. However, if you're going to use her only for her sub jobs on Black Mage and Time Mage, speed cast could be considered to be used. Outside of that, she doesn't really use them almost at all, so there's just better benefits in my opinion for the passives. For the reaction abilities, I do believe hyper reactivity is I'm not gonna say it's broken because it's not reflex, but I do believe it's very, very good, just like reflex, because you could completely evade all physical damage at a 15% chance, roughly, from it, which is pretty nice to have. I just have to say, if you don't take damage at all, is very nice of a passive. Slow counter is kind of niche, and you have to be very close range. Magic counter does not really hit hard enough, and it's not really reliable enough, in my opinion. Maybe it feels like damage distribution or something, that'd be better, but yeah, in my opinion, I would only be using hyper reactivity in almost all circumstances. So for Salire, Sweetheart rating out of 5. So if you were to use her right now, in my honest opinion, mostly due to the units available and what meta we are going through right now, I would give her a 3 out of 5 at most right now. The reason why is that she is still capable of being a very strong magic based DPS. She, unfortunately, for her base stats, she has mediocre HP, she has decent magic, and low agility. She has a base of 10 defense and 0 spirit. She's capable of dealing very high damage for both her single target and AoE abilities. However, her single target abilities doesn't go as high compared to her AoE. Her AoE definitely like skyrockets in terms of damage compared to her single target outside of her limit break. She's able to debuff and take away haste with her limit break, as well as give herself some CT back, which is very nice to have. She has access to the Time Mage subjob. However, she does not have quicken. She only has really haste for that regard, so it's kind of sad, unfortunately. She is heavily reliant on her hyper vitality to carry her base stats that are kind of mediocre to extremely high stats. With hyper vitality, I will say that her stats are extremely much preferable and high, but without it, it's really lackluster, unfortunately. She's, even without that passive, like both base Salire and base Garvel, she's actually slower than Garvel still, so it's really, she needs that hyper vitality to keep up. She does, however, have Detonation Blast, that 100% hit ability that's AoE, and it hits decently hard, so that's very nice to have. Her resistances overall are acceptable, but she's not really strong in any of them, like I said earlier. She has a physical barrier, but she has no barrier break, so magic-based like units and buffs and stuff are going to be kind of effective against Salire. For mobility options, she doesn't have nimble movement or anything. She doesn't have anything really to help her in terms of movement. You can haste her so she gets more turns, but keep in mind, if you're giving her more turns, that means Hyper Vitality is also running out faster. It's a dual-edged sword, just depends on how you're going to be using it. She's going to have 2 attack types, which is going to be the magic and missile. They're also possible for both high damage. Her missile does really need her EX, however, to get that good extra damage boost. Because of the current meta units right now out that we have available, and she is an ice type, she's going to be very weak against the current meta tanks, which is going to be King Mont and Rain. Even Warrior Light is able to stack up his magic attack resistance pretty high, so you have to think about using her carefully. I highly recommend not using her to attack King Mont and Rain specifically, and you will find out very quickly why. However, for her future and longevity, I do think she bumps up. Like, she's kind of like investment right now if you want like future like better matchups. The reason why is Chi Barrier is still very, very good against physical damage matchups. If the opponent does not have a physical damage barrier break, they're going to have a very hard time against Salire. She also is able to deal very high damage due to Hyper Vitality passive, and her Hyper Reactivity passive allows her for very, very good matchups against physical DPS. You can just imagine right now, oh my goodness, King Mont's going to use his limit break on her, but what if she procs her Hyper Reactivity? Miss. Very nice to have. As I said earlier, she does have no barrier break, however, she still kind of has 25% spirit penetration, which is not bad. However, against magic taints and barriers in general, magic barriers, they're just too strong against Salire. You should try not to hit too much magic-based tanks with Salire. Just try not to do that. With both magic and missile types of damage, this allows for mixed types of damage, which is good because if someone is just stacking a lot of magic attack resistance and you do not have any good imperils or penetration for that, she can switch over to her missile attacks. They won't be as strong as the magic-based ones, but it still helps her deal damage. Due to her time-based sub-job, it allows her to easily switch to support haste roll instead of trying to like rush in and just destroy them with Detonation Blast or her limit break. Her time-based sub-job definitely helps her stay back if you need that. Also, I didn't mention it here specifically, but for live PvP users, because she has transposition, I do believe like she can be extremely good in live PvP. You also have to consider, however, if you do use hyper reactivity, she does lose turns on that in live PvP, but you get the point. Transposition is actually very, very good if you were a user of it. Her limit break dispels enemies and it grants some CT on usage, which is very nice to have. If the opponent she's using it on is pretty slow and she uses her limit break, it's very possible she can limit break and get her turn back before the enemy can even react, so she can chain off it and possibly even like delete the unit. So it's actually pretty good of a limit break. Any evasion units and evasion like meta will be almost completely destroyed, like such as like Tifa and Tubi from Salire. She not only has the elemental advantage for like the big evasion, which is going to be Tifa, Tubi in the future. Detonation Blast makes quick work of any evasion units right now. Unless there is a very strong fire evasion unit, she still like Salire would just be super effective against just all evasion units in general. Like just too good of ability in a matchup. Because she is missing imperils or debuffs for like reducing enemy stats, it's gonna kind of hurt when enemies stack up countermeasures and resistances. Like if they build up a lot of magic attack resistance and like spirit, because she only has 25% spirit penetration and not like she has no imperils or penetration for magic attack or missile, she can be countered quite easily in that regard. Also, as I said earlier, due to being ice type, she kind of has to watch out for the meta fire units, which are very rampant in competitive play. Like a lot of people are using like King Mont, they're using Rain, they're using Black Robed Helena and stuff. So she has to watch out who she's attacking. If she's attacking fire units, she's gonna have a significantly worse time than like fighting more units that are not fire types. Keep in mind she's still very strong, but she's not at that level where she can either be meta changing or one-shot most units in the game. For her TMR chase rating, I gave it a 4 out of 5. I do think this is very, very good. Her TMR is going to be Armor, which is a Dreamy Dress. It's a cloth type. It gives up to 410 HP, which is alright. It's not 500 unfortunately, but the 10 defense and 6 spirit are not bad stats to add on. Most importantly, why I gave it a 4 out of 5 is going to be Miracle of Love, the active when you use it. It's not only going to consume 20% HP, which is not great to like lose. However, it gives you basically guarantee magic reflex for 1 turn. In live PvP, this is one of the most broken things you can put on someone that is able to like kind of just eat up damage. That means like if someone went like Yuna and like Black World Helena, and you have Chi Barrier already on Salire, and then you move her up and use Miracle of Love, whoever that physical DPS is, I do hope they can like finish off Salire, because any of the magic users are not only going to be 1 in range, they're also going to be 2 not able to hit her even with the Holy or anything because of that magic reflex for 1 turn. It is, I believe, mostly for live PvP, but if you can make it work in just auto PvP as well, that'll be good. But live PvP, I do believe this item is going to be almost broken if you use it very well. It's kind of like Howlett's TMR as well. Some people are able to make very good use of it and force the enemy into bad situations. So yeah, overall, Salire Sweetheart, I would, in the end, as I said, the feature and longevity, I would give her a 4 out of 5 right now. She's not really meta breaking. She's not enough in what she does. However, I do believe she's still very good and effective in what she does for what she's made for, which is going to be fighting against wind units and evasion units, which she does very, very well in my opinion. So stuff that can work well with Salire. Obviously, Auron and Gilgamesh are going to be the #1 contenders. Not only are they kind of like frontliners and they can help each other with either haste and quicken from Gilgamesh, they also mesh well because they're all kind of like front runners. They're all both Auron and Gilgamesh, they have either a barrier or they have like spirit resistance, and they're just bulky in general. They'll definitely help each other out, and Salire can kind of pick up the slack in terms of like the magic damage department. Because Auron is like 100% physical and Gilgamesh is kind of hybrid depending on Kotetsu, they're just good ice elements to put with her in general. Specifically, I put Tidus here, not only because he helps cover up the bad matchups that Salire has, but also because of Haste Aga is able to, because of Haste Aga in general. He not only covers her weakness against fire units, but Haste Aga also makes it so they're able to kind of chain off each other, and like if Tidus gets Haste Aga off on both of them, Salire LBs and she gets a lot of her CT back, and she's gaining a lot of CT from haste, and then Tidus hits her with hits the enemy with like a quick hit to reduce their CT. Salire is gonna get another turn, almost guaranteed. So you're literally gonna destroy that one opponent in that 1 turn order. I do believe that's super good. Now for the last unit, obviously you could put like Yuna, Black Robe Helena, all them in, but I kinda do believe Victoria Winter, once she gets her EX, I do believe like her chip damage from her barrage she gets from EX is gonna be extremely good, so that Salire can kind of just like snap, finish off the enemies that from all that chip damage. But we don't have her EX yet. It was supposed to be released earlier as well, kind of like with the Santa Claus, but we don't have it, which I'm very distressed about, unfortunately. But yeah, so when is the EX coming for them, Yukumi, please? Now specifically for TMRs, I put 2 TMRs here is going to be her own TMR, not only because she can avoid magic damage completely because she's not super resistant to them, but she does have a little bit in the magic attack resistance. It's very nice to have. Dan Crit's TMR here is here mostly because not only does it give her a good chunk of HP, an extra 10 defense on top of her 10 base defense with light resistance gives her a decently good matchup against a lot of the light units in general. Santa Claus, once it's released, when Gumi? Once it's released, it's going to give her a good balance of stats because it gives her spirit. You don't necessarily have to use the evasion, but it's mostly going to be used for the light resistance and the spirit specifically. Obviously, if you have the evasion unit, it's better for evasion units. Smart robe will be better in general, but yeah. We also have the new armor that JP got, which we should be getting soon, but not yet. It's a physical defense coat that also gives slash resistance. 2 things that Salire can make very good use of, especially because she has a base of 10 defense, meaning she can be very physical tanky if she's able to get the right build going for her. So that's why I put those there. I hope that makes a little bit more sense. She can definitely use other TMRs, like she can use Fury Surge if you want that magic attack penetration, but I specifically put these here as like defensive options because I do believe she has good firepower for now. And with that, we arrived to the end of the video. As always, if you liked my unit analysis on Salire Sweetheart, please leave a like and subscribe or a comment. And until the next video, thanks for watching.